Welcome to a new What I Eat in a Week. During the weekend, I got a sourdough bread from a bakery, so I had to have that for breakfast Monday morning. Sourdough bread has a lower glycemic index than regular bread, and since it's fermented, you may also find that it's easier to digest than regular bread. So on one slice, I had plain cream cheese, which I spiced up a bit with onion powder and dried dill. On the other slice, I had a cream cheese with garlic and herbs, and this one reminds me so much of when I was a kid and we were visiting my great-grandparents in Austria, because we used to have a similar type of cream cheese on semmel, which is an Austrian bread roll. It's so delicious. I topped the bread with a cucumber, and I also had some cut up cherry tomatoes on the side. Another thing I got during the weekend was nectarines, so I had one of those as well, and it was delicious. I didn't have any leftovers to have for lunch, but I did have different vegetables in the fridge that I had to use. So I first cooked quinoa. As usual, I rinse it and then I add water and herb salt and let it simmer until the water is gone. Then I added avocado oil to a pan. And I added mushrooms that I had sliced. I added salt, garlic powder, and dried rosemary to the mushrooms and continued cooking them for a while. I like to let them cook until most of the water has been released and the mushrooms have shrunken. I don't know. Then I added zucchini. After a while, I added in fresh kale. Then I added some black beans that I also had left in the fridge. I added some more garlic powder off camera, and then I let everything cook until the kale had wilted. I was gonna add hummus at first, but then I figured that the flavors may not really go together, so I had avocado instead. I had a pumpkin seed bar as an afternoon snack. The link to the recipe is in the description. I also had a banana. I wasn't intending to have roasted chickpeas with my dinner, but I remembered that I had some chickpeas left from the weekend, so I figured why not? I just added avocado oil and herb salt to them and spread them around evenly. Then I roasted them at 200 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes. Then I started preparing my actual dinner. I wanted to make some sort of pesto pasta, so to a blender, I first added hemp seeds and sunflower seeds that I had soaked. And I should mention that this entire dish was completely freestyled, and I pretty much eyeballed the measurements. Anyway, then I added lemon juice from about half a lemon. Then I added olive oil, and again, I don't know exactly how much, maybe 2 tablespoons, I really don't know. But I do know that I added a tablespoon and a half nutritional yeast. Then I added sea salt, a pinch or something, and a handful of fresh basil. A clove of garlic, and I blended that off camera, and I probably should have added more basil because it was looking a bit pale, but I didn't have any more to add, so this would do. Then I prepared the pasta using whole wheat pasta as usual. Then I cooked green peas and broccoli to add to the pasta later. Then I drained the pasta once it was done cooking and added it back to the pot. And then I added the peas and broccoli and then the quote-unquote pesto. I also reserved just a tiny bit of pasta water that I added in the end. Lastly, I sprinkled on all of the roasted chickpeas. On Tuesday, I had the exact same breakfast as on Monday except for cherry tomatoes. These nectarines reminded me of a popsicle, so I got inspired to make nectarine sorbet. Not this week though, but I posted it on my Instagram. For lunch, I had that leftover pesto pasta with sauerkraut on top. Not as creamy the next day, but still really good. And in the afternoon, I had 2 of those pumpkin seed bars. I had some leftover cherry tomatoes from the weekend that I was gonna use for the pesto pasta but completely forgot. So for dinner this day, I decided to bake them in the oven, and I had them with frozen asparagus, and then I also had kale. You gotta be careful with the kale though, because it can easily get burnt. I bake it until it gets crispy but not burnt so that it gets a nice texture. I drizzled on avocado oil and sprinkled on salt, pepper, and dried oregano. I also massaged the kale a bit beforehand because it makes it easier to chew and digest. Then I roasted everything at 200 degrees Celsius, the kale for 15 to 20 minutes and the rest for 30. One thing I love about roasting vegetables in the oven is that while they're taking care of themselves, you can prepare the other stuff. So I cooked oat rice and added herb salt to the cooking water as usual. Herb salt is like a veggie stock powder without the added sugar and other unnecessary ingredients. I will link the one I use below. I had butter beans as a source of protein. And for healthy fats, I had hummus, and this was so simple but really good, so I will most likely make this again. On Wednesday, I only had a little bit left of the sourdough bread, so I made a piece with the plain cream cheese, onion powder, and dill. And then I only had a tiny bit cucumber left as well, so I ate that last piece on the side. But that's not all. I had thawed frozen blueberries and pomegranate seeds overnight, and then in the morning I added Greek yogurt and I sprinkled cinnamon on top. I was gonna add banana coins in the yogurt as well, but I forgot, so I just had the banana afterwards. I woke up pretty early this day and had an early breakfast because I had an appointment, and I can't drink a lot before I have to leave the house early in the morning because my bladder is really small, especially in the morning. Please comment if you can relate. Anyway, therefore, when I got home, I made myself a matcha latte. By the way, I did whisk it for longer than it looks. I just had to cut it because, I don't know, I just figured you would be bored watching me whisk it for a really long time. But yeah, I used pea milk for the latte. Shocking, right? Besides matcha, I had a square of dark chocolate. Some people ask me about the heavy metals in dark chocolate. The way I think is, number one, I love chocolate too much to care too much. 2. Whole grain products can also contain heavy metals because it's naturally present in the soil. It's not just rice that has arsenic, other whole grains can have cadmium and stuff. And 3rd, if I care too much about the dangers in food, I would just end up with a bad relationship with food and not eat anything. But of course, you can be mindful and choose better brands. And for lunch, I had leftovers. I was still craving something more, so I had an apple as well. It's been a long time since I made these healthy cookies, so I started by mashing a banana in a bowl. I don't have any measurements for this. I mainly go on feeling, but I always use 1 banana. Then I add rolled oats and seeds, usually sunflower and pumpkin seeds because they have that texture. And then I add cardamom and cinnamon and I mix everything together. Then I flatten out the batter on a baking tray lined with parchment paper. The temperature and the time that I make them on also varies a lot. I kind of just go on feeling for that as well and just check them every now and then to make sure they don't burn. I just wanted a quick and easy dinner, so first I heated a pan and added avocado oil. Then to a can of chickpeas I added curry powder, salt, pepper and dried parsley. These measurements are also random whenever I do this. I added some turmeric there as well, mainly for the color. Then I added them to the pan and let them roast. I wasn't gonna use kale at first because I was steaming broccoli on the side already, but I had it at home and had to use it, so I figured why not. And I basically just cooked that until the kale had wilted and the chickpeas, of course, were more roasted. The chickpeas were the main part of this meal, I suppose, and with them I had quinoa, steamed broccoli as I mentioned, and then I had a grated carrot. I also added half of an avocado, then I sprinkled on sesame seeds, mainly because the avocado looks so naked when you plate it like that. Thursday morning I made a smoothie bowl, so kind of like usual, I first added 1 banana and some frozen mango, then hemp protein powder. I wanted to add in a lot more cilantro than I did, but this was all I had. I also added a stalk of celery and then spices, so cinnamon, ginger, turmeric, and a pinch of black pepper. Then I added frozen blueberries and water before blending. I topped it with muesli and hemp seeds. For lunch, I had leftovers, but without broccoli, and then I added hummus. I was at IKEA in the afternoon, and because I hadn't had a soft serve from IKEA since I was a kid, I felt so tempted to have it. I was disappointed though because it didn't taste anything. I have found that ever since I've been eating mostly whole foods, processed foods just taste so bland. I came home a lot later than I usually make dinner, so I wanted something quick and easy. So while cooking some oat rice on the stove, I made an improvised dressing. I added a tablespoon of olive oil, 2 tablespoons lemon juice, a little bit of Dijon mustard. I don't like it when it's too much, so yeah, only a little. Then salt, dried dill, and pepper. I later added garlic powder as well. I just cut up some cucumber and grated a carrot. The only thing I really cooked for this meal was the oat rice. Then I added cannellini beans. And then I drizzled on the dressing. I also added a quarter of an avocado. This is what I call whole fast food because I made it in almost no time, and it's obviously pretty much only whole food ingredients. After dinner, I had 2 squares of dark chocolate. I had bread earlier this week, but no avocado toast, so I was craving it. I didn't have any of that bakery bread left though, so I stuck with the regular whole wheat bread I tend to use. Straight from the freezer and into the toaster. When you keep bread in the freezer, not only does it last longer, the starch turns into resistant starch, so the glycemic index may be lower. I sprinkled on herb salt and then I did that onion powder and dill combo. I also added nutritional yeast. Now that I'm seeing this, I realize I could have added hemp seeds, but next time I guess. Then I also had an apple with cinnamon. I have actually never tried matcha without making it into a latte because I've been afraid I won't like it, but this day I decided to try it. I don't pour in all the water all at once because then it would be very difficult to whisk it. It was actually pretty good. I did not hate it, but I definitely still prefer the matcha latte. But that's also probably because I'm so used to the matcha latte, I'm not used to drinking it straight like this. For some reason, these leftovers tasted better the next day, which is kind of weird because it was pretty much only the oat rice that was the leftover and the dressing, of course. But I mean, it's not a casserole, so I don't know. In the afternoon, I really wanted to have popcorn, so yeah, I made popcorn and I used coconut oil to make them. I find that it's the best oil because it's heat stable and doesn't leave a flavor like avocado oil may do. When they were done, I added salt, as you do, because who eats popcorn without salt? If you do, then leave a comment because I'm kind of curious if you do, but I don't think anyone does. Nutritional yeast on popcorn is probably less common though, so if you haven't tried it, definitely try it because it's so good. I also needed a square of dark chocolate. For dinner, I had a black bean taco, which I've showed so many times before because I have it almost every Friday. It usually contains avocado, black beans with taco seasoning, corn, cucumber, lettuce, taco sauce, Greek yogurt, and nutritional yeast. Very tasty. And that's all I ate this week. Hope you enjoyed it and thank you for watching. And also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe.